Hilal. Welcome to our fourth lecture. As we have discussed last lecture, we said we are going to have the second part of the course where we started chapter number 1. Today we are going to follow chapter number 1 again, and we discuss and analyze another article taken from chapter number 1. So this is lecture number 4 from our course. We are going to start with the interaction access book. So today's lecture is going to study the article on page number 1 and 11. The title of the article is My Neighborhood. The study of this article is going to include explaining some difficult words by giving their definition. Then we will have to answer some questions about this article so that we can understand what it is about. We will also give some opposites. We will have some vocabulary and their opposite meanings. Again, we are going to explain how to read the numbers in English. Then we will write some multiple choice questions at the end of this article. Okay, so this is the passage taken from the book, page number 10 and 11. I'm going to read the passage very quickly, but it is already there in the book. My name is Alina Sanchez. I am from Mexico, but now I live in California. I am a student here in English language classes at a small college. I live in an apartment building. It is on the corner of Olive Street and Sycamore Avenue. My address is 2201 Olive Street. There is a big olive tree in front of the building. There is a park across the street. There are a lot of oak trees in the park. The trees are beautiful in the summer. A lot of my neighbors are from different countries. The people next to me are from Indonesia. The family across from the Indonesian family is from Colombia. The stores in the neighborhood are always busy. There is a Korean drugstore and an American flower shop. There are 3 restaurants on Olive Street, 1 Mexican, 1 Japanese, and 1 Moroccan Italian American. I like my neighborhood, but I ask myself one question: where are the Americans? So this is the article that we have from the book, which is on page number 10 and 11. The title of the article, My Neighborhood. So as you can see, we have highlighted different words in this article so that we can explain them and have their definition, give some synonym and opposite for them. Let's start. So the main idea of this article, so we have 3 options. Elena studies English in a college in California, or the people in Elena's neighborhood are from many countries, or there are restaurants with food from many countries in Elena's neighborhood. Well, all those facts are mentioned in the article, but the main idea, the central idea of this article is that the people in Elena's neighborhood are from many different countries, from more than 1 country. So the correct answer for this question, which is what is the main idea of the essay or of the article, is basically the second choice, which where the article talks about that Elena's neighborhood have come from different countries. Those are some definitions. A big, terrible thing is a monster. A very big city together with other areas around it is a mega city. The number of people in 1 square mile population density, a region that is identified as a distinct entity in political geography, is a country. I think we have dealt with the first part of the chapter number 1 before, and this is just a revision of some of the definition we have come across last lecture. But For this specific article, which is my neighborhood, we have some terminology, some new words, and we need to understand their meaning. Some of them are easy to understand, and we are going to provide a definition in English, short definition, and some of them are just given the translation for. So we start with the word, then we have its meaning. So word number one is the word address. Address is the location at which a particular organization or a particular person may be found or reached. So basically, address is where you live. When it comes to an individual person, my address, for example, is Saudi Arabia, Al-Hassa, King Faisal University. So I have identified the location, the place where somebody can be found, when people can find me, where people can send me emails or letters, and so on and so forth. The second term is apartment building. Apartment building is basically a building that contains separate residential apartments. So we are talking about a big building that is, when you go inside, you find different apartment, different smaller apartment where other people can live. So, however, this building have only one entrance for every resident to go in. The corner of a place is clearly a place or an angle where two sides of one edge basically meet. So even sometimes we use the word very frequently that when we have two things together crossing one another, the point where they meet, or where the edges where they meet, is basically what we call the corner of the street, the corner of the book, and so on and so forth. The word neighborhood is an area of a town or a city that people live in. So we need to differentiate between neighborhood and neighbors. Neighborhood is the place, the area, which can contain more than one building, where we have large or group of people who are living in which. While neighbors are the people who are next to your door, very closer to your house. For example, we call them our neighbors, jiranuna or jiranak or whatever. So the neighbors are someone who lives next door to you or very near to you. So basically, somebody who is living closer to my flat or closer to my house is what I call my neighbor. So according to the definition, the word neighbor refers to someone who lives next door to or very near to the person who is speaking or giving the explanation. These are two types of trees. So that's oak tree, which is shajar balut, and olive tree, which is very famous. So olive tree and oak tree, shajarat zaytun, as you can see. Again, if we go back to the article we have just read, we have some words, and one way of making the meaning of those words clearer is by giving their opposite. So you can have the word and you can have it is opposite. So as you can see in this table, you have the words and you have the opposite meaning of those words. We start with the first column here, there, huna, hunak. Small, big, صغير وكبير, or sometimes we could say large. Beautiful and ugly. جميل وقبيح. Different, similar. مختلف, متشابه. Busy, idle or inactive. Busy, مشغول, always involved in work, but inactive, there is no activity. That is غير مشغول or خامل or not really doing any job. Sorry. Question is basically the opposite of the word answer. So question, su'al, answer, jawab. Now sometimes we have the verb ask, which is to ask a question. Yas'al su'alan. The opposite of the verb is the same word answer, but here the word answer is used as a verb. Yas'al, yujib. But here su'al, jawab. So answer sometimes can be a verb and can be a noun. In this particular example, the word answer here is clearly a noun, while in this example, answer is clearly a verb. Anyway, Again, we have the word always, which means دائما, something that happens frequently, more than one time. The opposite meaning for something that happens more than one time or frequently or repeatedly is at no time, where something does not happen at all. Or we can simply say never, it does not happen. Okay, let's move on to analyze our article. Here are some examples of sentences taken from the article or related to the article we have started with, but those sentences are jumbled. Jumbled means they are not really ordered. The order of the element of the sentence are not correct. We need to have the correct order of those sentences so that we can understand what do they mean. Now, if we start here, we have in, I, and live apartment. Now, if you look at this, it sounds as if it is a sentence, but there is something wrong. The order of the element in the sentence are not really correct. The sentence is jumbled. It is not really following the grammatical order of an English sentence. So, if we try to do the first sentence, I live in an apartment. So, we start with the subject, I live in an apartment. I live in an apartment. Where we started with the subject first, then we moved to the verb, then we started with the preposition, then the noun an apartment. So I live in an apartment. In the exam, we might have sentences that are jumbled, and the question says choose the correct sentence, or choose the sentence that will have correct word order or correct order. We will have an exam sample before the exam, and when we talk about the during the live sessions, we will have some examples of how the exam is going to be like. Similarly, if you look at the second sentence, busy, the today's stores are. So if you look again, this is a sentence that is jumbled. There is no, it is not really accurate in terms of order. And there's an extra letter here for the word today. We cannot have this S. So that's a printing mistake. Anyway, so to arrange this sentence, the stores are busy today. So you start with the subject, the, followed by stores. The stores are busy today. The stores are busy today. So the first element of the sentence would be the definite article, the, followed by the word store, then the verb, which is are, number 3, then busy, number 4, then the word today. So the stores are busy today. Let's move to the following sentence. Studies English college at Elena. So we are talking about probably the subject, Elena. What does she do? She studies. What does she study? She studies English. Where? At college. Elena studies English at college. So this is an unacceptable word order. We change the sentence into a correct order where we start with Elena, the subject, followed by the verb studies, then the object. What does she study? She studies English. Where? She studies at a college. So Elena studies English at a college. Similarly, following the order of the sentence, we have neighbors, different, her countries, and from, are. The sentence is jumbled. You cannot really understand what it is, but it would always help to think that English sentences have always to start with a verb if we are talking about an affirmative sentence, a sentence that is not a question or a sentence that is not conditional, and so on and so forth. So we are talking about neighbors, different, her country, from, are. We start with the neighbor, the doer of the action. Her neighbors are from different countries. Her neighbors, so her neighbors, then the verb are from different countries. Her neighbors are from different countries. Like, neighborhood, my. I like my neighborhood. I like my neighborhood. I like my neighborhood. So always start with the subject. One common feature of those sentences is that all of them start with the subject. So the subject has to come first. After the subject, you have to have the verb. So if you look here, I is the subject, the stores is the subject, Elena is the subject, her neighbor is the subject, I is the subject. Then after the subject, you find the verb. We start with the subject first, then we move to the verb. Following the subject, there should be the object. If the sentence has an object, the object comes after the verb. So if you look at this example, I live in an apartment. There is no object here, but we have a prepositional phrase, preposition, then a noun. The stores are busy today. Elena studies. What does she study? She studies English. So after the verb, we can have the object of the sentence. So we can have what we call the complement. And the complement might be a prepositional phrase like in an apartment, can be, for example, an adjective, can be an object, and so on and so forth. So basically, all those sentences start with a subject. Another common feature is that all those sentences start with a capital letter. The first letter of the subject has to be in capital case, in uppercase, rather than in small case or in a lower case. Finally, all those sentences ends with a full stop, ends with a period, with a dot, with, if you like, a full stop at the end of the sentence to indicate that the sentence has finished. So here we have jumbled sentences, mixed sentences, not correct word order. We arrange the element of the sentence according to the correct grammatical word order. I live in an apartment. The stores are busy today. Elena studies English at college. Her neighbors are from different countries. I like my neighborhood. Moving to the following slide. Now here we have an exercise on page number 19 in the book, which says make simple sentences. Positive sentences begin with capital letter and end with a period. We repeat. So what we mean by the word positive sentences, those sentences are not negative sentences. They are not question sentences. They are not, for example, conditional sentences in the sense that they contain different word order, but they are affirmative sentences, positive sentences. They are not question sentences. So when the sentence is a positive sentence, it is going to begin with a capital letter. Not only that, at the end of the sentence, you will have a period, a full stop. Let's look at the sentence that we have here. My father works every day. The letter M is capitalized to indicate that this is the beginning of the sentence. At the end of the sentence, we have a period, we have a full stop. My father works every day, full stop. Nadia wrote a letter. Again, the letter N in Nadia is capitalized, and at the end we have a full stop, or if you like, we have a period. Similarly, the trees are beautiful. Capital T and a full stop at the end of the sentence. Books are interesting. Capital B and a full stop at the end of the sentence. Now, those sentences, the following sentences are wrong. We cannot accept those sentences because there are no capitalization at the beginning of those sentences. You find that the first letter is not written in uppercase. It is written in lowercase. So it should be, for example, my father should be capital. Nadia should start with a capital N. The trees should start with a capital T. Books should start with a capital B, and so on and so forth. Those sentences are also wrong because there is no full stop at the end of those sentences. So you need a full stop at the end of all those sentences, so that the sentence, we know where the sentence starts and where the sentence finishes. In other words, in any positive sentence, you should have a capital letter at the beginning, and you should end the sentence with a full stop or with a period. Let's move on. Again, every sentence must have a subject and a main verb. English is different from Arabic. In Arabic, you can have a sentence followed by, started with a subject and followed by adjective, for example. But in English, if you have to have a sentence, the sentence has to start with a subject followed by a verb. There should be a verb. There is no sentence that is not really verbal sentence. So, Sally left. Subject, Sally, and the verb left is the verb. Again, Ahmed traveled. Subject, verb. Subject, verb. A sentence can contain an object as well, and or can contain additional information. So this is a chapter. This is a chart, a table that shows us how the sentence has to start with a verb. Has to start with the subject, followed by the verb, followed by object if there is object, then there is probably more information, extra information, additional information. Look at the first example. Khalid studies English at school. Khalid studies English at school. The word Khalid is the subject. The word studies is the verb. Then what does Khalid study? He studies English. So this is the object. Do we have more information? Yes. Where does he study? He studies at school. He studies at school. Similarly, my father reads the newspaper every day. My father is the subject. Reads is the verb. The newspaper is the object. Then we have more information. He reads every day. Extra information. Similarly, Nadia and Ahmed is the subject, followed by the verb. Nadia and Ahmed wrote. Then they wrote what? They wrote their homework. Do we have more information? Yes. In the library. They wrote their homework in the library. Another sentence. She is the subject. Wrote is the verb. What did she wrote? What did she write? She wrote 3 stories. So this element is the object of the sentence. Can you tell us something? More information, additional information? Yes, she wrote 3 stories about education. About education. So this is extra information. Now here we have an exercise asking us to draw a circle on the subject. So when you see the subject, put a circle around it and underline the verb. When you see the verb, underline the verb and draw brackets around the additional information. And if you have additional information, put them between 2 brackets. Let us start with the first example. Saleh plays football every afternoon. Saleh plays football every afternoon. The doer of the action, the subject of the sentence is Saleh. So we are going to circle the word Saleh. Underline the verb. Where's the verb? What does he do? He plays. What does he play? He plays football. So it says circle the subject, underline the verb, and draw brackets around the additional information. Additional information. So Saleh play football. More information about Saleh playing football every afternoon. So this is extra information, more information. We have a number of sentences. We are going to go through them. We indicate where is the verb. We indicate the subject. We underline the verb, and we use bracket to indicate the extra information. So let's start with the first sentence. So again, the subject has to be circled, the verb has to be underlined, and bracket for the additional information. Starting with the first sentence again, Saleh is the verb, Saleh is the subject, plays is the verb, and every afternoon is the additional information. So we circled the verb, we circled the subject, we underlined the verb, and we put brackets around the additional information. Following sentence, I live in Riyadh. I is the subject, so we circle the subject. Live is the verb, so we underline the verb. In Riyadh is extra information, so we are going to use bracket around in Riyadh. Similarly, my brother studies biology at school. My brother is the subject, so we circle the subject. Studies is the verb, so we underline the verb. Where does he study? He studies at school, so we put brackets around the additional information at school. Sentence number 4, the lecturers speak English at this university. So we have a sentence. Where is the doer of the action? Where is the subject? It is the word the lecturers. What do they do? Where is the verb? They speak. So speak is underlined. What do they speak? They speak English. Give me more information. They speak English at this university. So we put bracket around the additional information. Sentence number 5, the library is in building M2. Where is the subject in this sentence? It is the word the library. So we circle the library. The verb of this sentence is verb to be, is. So we underline the verb. And extra information is in building M2. Sentence number 6, Ahmed and Nadia work in a factory. So who works in a factory? Who is the subject? It is Ahmed and Nadia. So we circle Ahmed and Nadia. What do they do? They work. So work is the verb. Then where do they work? Give me more information. Give me additional information. It is that they work in a factory. So we place in a factory into brackets to indicate that it is an additional information. Now, if we go back to the article, we will notice the use of some preposition. One particular preposition that keeps repeating in this article differently is the preposition in, on, and at. Now, this is an example, or this is an exercise that shows us how these prepositions can be understood and how we can basically understand where to use this preposition and where to use that preposition. So the exercise says, fill in the blank with the suitable preposition. Now, I live Mexico. I live, then we have the word Mexico. When we are talking about a city or a country, the correct preposition to use is in. I live in Mexico. So when the word following the preposition is either a city or a country or a district, I live in Saudi Arabia. I live in Lebanon. I live in Syria. I live in Riyadh. So when you are talking about a city or a country, use the preposition in. Look at the second sentence. Maria lives Olive Street. Wait a minute, Olive Street is not a city, it is not a country. What it is the name of the street. So when you have the name of the street, you cannot use in, you need to use on. So Maria lives on Olive Street. So we use the preposition on when there is the name of the street, but not the name of the city. In example number 3, she lives 35 Hill Street. Now look, this is the exact address of the subject of she, so we basically have to use now a different preposition. She lives at 35 Hill Street. So you need to pay attention. When it is the address, use at. When it is the name of the street, use on. When it is the name of the city or the country, use in. Now, you need also to notice that we use the same verb, live here, live, but it is a different preposition. What makes the preposition choice on, in, or at? It is we look at the following word. If it is the name of a city, we use in. If it is the name of the street, we use on. If we are talking about our address or we are giving our address, we use at. What about sentence number 4? Tokyo is Japan. Tokyo is in Japan. So we are dealing with the name of the country again, and we are dealing with Tokyo as part of Japan. So Tokyo is located in Japan. There is a big tree, my building. There is a big tree. According to the Exercise, there is a building in front of, there is a big tree in front of my building. Looking at question number 6, I am Hong Kong. I am from Hong Kong. I am from Syria. I am from Lebanon. I am from Saudi Arabia. So where do you want to talk about your origin, where you came from? You say, you use the preposition from. I am from Hong Kong, but I live Singapore. Now wait a minute, is Singapore a name of a city or a country, or is it a name of a street, or is it giving address? Clearly, I live in Singapore, where Singapore is the name of the city. Okay, so this brings us to the end of lecture number 4. Thank you very much. Next lecture, we are going to start the grammar book again, where we start with chapter number 2, where we continue the topics we have said we are going to continue. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.